Some African countries are sitting on billions of dollars right under their feet. Others have nothing. Same continent, different reality. Why? And here's the part most people miss. It's not luck. It's not borders. It's something much deeper. So what really decides who has oil and who doesn't? This is the story of oil in Africa. How it formed, why some countries have it and others don't, who found it, who controls it, and why, in many places, the people closest to the oil benefit the least. Before oil, Africa ran on land, farming, fishing, trade. In Nigeria, cocoa and palm produce drove the economy. In Ethiopia and Mali, people depended on the soil. Life was not easy, but it worked. Then, oil came and everything shifted. If you're into real stories like this, stories they don't usually explain clearly, tap like so more people can see this. Here's the real question. Why did oil show up in some places and completely skip others? Was it chance or something deeper? Go back millions of years. Parts of Africa were underwater. Oceans, swamps, lakes. Tiny organisms lived there, then died and sank. Layer after layer buried them. Heat built up, pressure increased, and over time, oil formed. But only in certain places with the right conditions, the right rock type. That is why countries like Nigeria, Angola, and Libya have oil. They sit on deep sedimentary basins, natural storage zones. Other countries like Rwanda or Lesotho don't. Wrong rock type, wrong history. So even if oil once existed, it escaped. So no, it's not about who deserved it. It's about geology. But if that's true, why are some of the richest oil regions still struggling today? Fast forward, colonial period. European companies began searching. They had the tools, they had the funding. In 1956, oil was found in Uloibiri in Nigeria by Shell. That moment changed everything. But changed it for who exactly? Here's where things take a turn. Finding oil was the easy part. After independence, countries took control, at least officially. Then came the 1970s. Oil prices exploded. Countries like Algeria, Libya, and Nigeria made huge money. They joined OPEC. Revenue poured in. Cities grew. Projects started. It looked like success. But was it real progress or just fast money? Oil should have helped everyone, but often it didn't. This is called the resource curse. Easy money changes priorities. Governments rely on oil. Other sectors weaken. Farming declines. Industry slows. In Nigeria, oil became everything, but poverty remained. So where did all that money go? In Angola, oil wealth existed alongside war. In Equatorial Guinea, money increased, but living conditions didn't match. And this leads to a bigger question. If there's so much money, where is it going? Even after independence, foreign companies stayed in charge. Shell, ExxonMobil, Total Energies. They had the technology. Governments depended on them. Deals were signed. Profits were shared. But a large share left Africa. So who really controls the wealth? If this is already changing how you see things, hit subscribe, because the next part explains why this keeps happening. Now, look at the Niger Delta in Nigeria. Rich in oil, but heavily damaged. Oil spills, polluted rivers, gas flaring, toxic air. How can a place so rich look like this? Fishing destroyed, farming affected. People protested. One voice stood out, Ken Saro-Wiwa. He spoke up. In 1995, he was executed. The world reacted, but the damage stayed. If the world saw it, why didn't things change? Oil didn't just bring wealth, it also brought consequences. In Angola, oil funded war. In Sudan, oil added tension, leading to the creation of South Sudan. Pipelines became targets, communities suffered. Can something so valuable also be so destructive? Oil brings huge money, but not always transparency. Funds disappear, projects stall, leaders gain wealth, citizens struggle. The problem is not oil, it's management. The world needs oil. Cars, planes, factories. This keeps African oil valuable. Algeria and Libya supply Europe. Nigeria exports globally. Africa is tied to global markets. But here's the next question. Can new oil countries avoid these same problems? In Ghana, oil started flowing in 2010. In Uganda and Kenya, new reserves are emerging. They now face a choice: repeat history or change it. But will they actually do things differently? Oil extraction damages the environment. Spills, pollution, gas flaring, and climate change. Africa is already vulnerable. Droughts, floods, rising heat. Oil adds pressure. How much damage is too much? The world is shifting, slowly but clearly. Solar, wind, hydro. Africa has strong potential, but oil still brings fast money, so change is slow. What happens when the world no longer needs oil? This is the real question. Who benefits? Governments earn, companies profit, but many citizens lack basics: water, healthcare, education. That gap is the real story. Everything comes back to one idea. Oil is not the problem. How it is managed is. Africa stands at a turning point. Will the next chapter be different or the same? Oil will not last forever. The world is changing. So the question is simple. Will things be done differently, or will history repeat itself? Oil shaped Africa. It created wealth and struggle, power and conflict, and it all started with something invisible: the ground beneath. Same continent, different reality. Now you know why. Now the real question is, what happens next? If this changed how you see Africa, like the video so more people can understand this story. And subscribe, because this is just one part of a much bigger history. Now tell me in the comments, do you think oil helped Africa more or hurt it?